was like literally like shaking. I was so anxious. I've been dreaming about this moment for like 10 years. Since I was 16 years old, I wanted to do this. And I'm there, my mom's with me, and it's like storming the beach in Normandy. Like, oh, wait, doors open in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, go, go.
Hey everyone, welcome to Lone Startup. I'm Pat Kaloran, and I'm here to shine a light on Austin's most impressive entrepreneurs. From locally owned small businesses to global brands, Austin has an endless supply of inspiration. We sometimes just have to slow our scroll, take a breath, and listen. Let's dive in. Does anyone else not enjoy going for a run? You know, everyone talks about getting that runner's high, and maybe I just haven't run far enough to have experienced that, but I either need to have a basketball in my hand or be playing some sort of game to enjoy cardio. My next guest, Destin George Bell, is the founder of Cardio, a running app that makes running fun through a gamified interface. Think Pokemon Go meets Strava. But when Destin first had this idea to gamify running, he didn't know the first thing about building an app to solve this problem. So how did he end up with an incredible product and thousands of users around the world? And how would he wind up on Shark Tank making a deal with two sharks? This is the incredible story of Destin George Bell. Okay, cool. So there's a lot to talk about here. Obviously, the app is super cool, and you've come a long way since you started that app. Even when I first heard about you and you were on my radar and you popped up in my LinkedIn feed, I checked out the app. It's super cool. Even in the past like 4 months, it's come a huge long way. The UX is like very different.
Oh, it's changed.
I noticed you guys
pushing updates basically weekly at this point.
Yeah, it looks like your monetization strategy is really coming around. It looks really solid. So yeah, kudos to you, man. The app looks great.
Awesome. Thanks.
But to back up, so like obviously you would end up going on Shark Tank. You got two shark investors in your company. But before, like, let's kind of talk about that journey there, because I know it probably feels like a little bit of a blur for you, but I'd love to rewind the clock a bit here and really kind of walk through how this came about. So like we were saying, you basically creating this company was almost out of a, not necessity, but like you were kind of trying to make your own job more or less, right? Yeah. During COVID.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was broke and jobless. So I graduated May 20. I was that first COVID class. I didn't have any opportunities really waiting for me because at the time, I had a bunch of things lined up because, I was kicking ass. Mind you, am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah, you can cuss.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
okay, I should ask you that before I said that. But yeah, I was kicking butt. I was doing my job. I was killing it in college. I was running an entrepreneurship club there. We had like 80 due-pay members. We had done, some speaking engagements with some people on the Forbes list and a whole bunch of other really successful founders. They're giving me some great advice. I was working on a completely different startup at the time around what I called a PRM, a personal relationship manager, like pretty much HubSpot, but for your personal contacts.
Oh, cool, yeah.
To help you manage the people you know when you met them. I was working on that with a guy who was a dev for Sony, working on the PlayStation 5, and a former NFL player. I had a backup sales job offer at Eli Lilly, doing pharma sales for them on their oncology team.
Okay.
That was, in like a nice high 5 to low 6-figure job right out of college.
Yeah.
In the case I needed something like that, if I didn't go full speed into entrepreneurship.
Right.
I was kicking butt. Here comes COVID. Lose the job offer. Company was based around networking because there's a personal relationship manager around meeting people at networking events and whatnot. So social distancing was kind of a company killer for me for that one.
Yeah.
So that one went kaput. I started investing my money wisely in the stock market, then not so much later, and then I lost all of it. And I couldn't get a job, and I was broke, ran through all my savings, and I figured, you know what, dude? At some point, after putting in my 1,001 application for a job and not even getting a call back or not getting a job when I interview because they say I'm not a good culture fit or I'm a flight risk. Somebody did say that, like, oh, you're a flight risk. They can tell, like, the kind of guy you are. You don't do well with structure. You're very left brain, creative. You don't want to follow a process. You have a problem with authority. These are all true things. So I'm not upset about it. It's all true. And they were definitely right. I would definitely have worked there for 3 to 6 months, got enough money to start with something and then left. Yeah. So they were all right. They made the right decision and not hire me. But since I couldn't get a job and I was broke, I figured, I got plenty of free time. Let me just come up with some ideas. And I've come up with a ton. Cardio obviously being my latest and hopefully greatest. But I've been dabbling in entrepreneurship pretty much since I moved to Austin, even before, but especially since.
Yeah. So you seem like a guy, you have a lot of ideas, you got a lot of energy. Like where did you get that inspiration? Like, did you grow up around like a lot of entrepreneurial type people or mentors, or like where did that kind of bug for wanting to build my own thing come from? Can you trace that back?
Yeah, so my mom, for sure. My mom was very entrepreneurial. She would be a DJ. She would DJ some of like the high school proms, and I would go there. I was man of the house, so out lifting up, speakers and all that when I'm 9 years old and putting them on the stands and helping her move stuff around. She also was a wedding planner, so she would help plan weddings. Again, I'm setting up stuff at their wedding and doing this and doing that, running with my mom. And even though she wasn't, pulling any crazy numbers. We weren't doing millions of dollars in revenue or anything like that. We were relatively a lower middle class family in the South. So it wasn't like we were creating, generational wealth with it. But at the same time, she just seemed so happy and passionate about what she was doing. And she had autonomy. Even though she was always working, she was at home, working from home. Even back in the 2000s, before that was really a thing, she was working from home, having people come to her little home office. Yeah. And then my dad on the other side worked a normal 9-to-5 job. And every day he came home and it just clearly was a miserable experience. He's sipping scotch on the rocks at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday. He don't want to talk about work. He doesn't really care about it. I didn't really know what he did for work until I was basically in college. So, I mean, it was something that just disparity-wise.
You just saw lifestyle-wise, this route looks a little more enjoyable.
This person doesn't come home every day acting like their life sucks, and this person does. So that when the person who doesn't hate their life with the work they're doing, that's kind of the kind of work I would want to do. And then even as a kid, I always had the desire to be my own boss. I just knew, even before I had my first high school job, that people who work for people make less than the person they work for. So why would I want to be that person? Why would I not want to be the boss? And moving up the hierarchy of a corporation takes so long. I ain't got that much time. I'm impatient. So I figured, well, why not just start my own hierarchy and start from the top and then build people from the bottom below me versus, start at the bottom and work my way up.
Right. Yeah. And you're you're a young guy and you grew up around Shark Tank, right? So before we'll get to your experience on Shark Tank, but you grew up like loving that show, right?
Yeah, I've been watching since I was like 10 years old, dude.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, okay, very cool. And so let's fast forward a bit there. So yeah, you graduate. The COVID happens and it kind of ruins the job market for you a bit. And you're like, okay, I'm going to start my own thing. Let's think of what I can come up with.
Right.
And then for you in COVID, you started running or you didn't like running and you were like, how do I make this more fun?
Right. Well, that's the thing. I hated running. That's the most funny part about it. People ask like, oh man, so you must have like been a runner in college or high school. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so you just enjoyed running. No. Oh, so you use like apps like Strava and Nike Run Club and you saw gaps. No. Like, well, so why did you do this? Like, well,
yeah,
I was trying to run during COVID because I usually would play basketball, go to the gym, do other activities in groups. No group activities during social distancing. Mm-hmm. No basketball. They're literally taking the rims off the backboards during COVID so people would stop gathering and playing since we're supposed to be distancing each other, right? And then even like state parks and stuff, I would go like walk in the state parks and then people would stop me and say, hey, you're not allowed to be in here. So the only thing I could do was push-ups in the house and run outside. Push-ups, I got no problem with. I like push-ups.
Yeah.
Running, sucked. Hated it. Didn't want to do it. Fell off of it very quickly. Realized I needed to do more of it. Needed to find a way to make it more enjoyable. And then I also realized that, hey, look, I'm not the only person who's ever had that problem. If I did, America wouldn't have an obesity problem, right? So I figured if there's so many people out there who hate cardio, probably more than I do as a guy who's active and enjoys fitness and genuinely goes to the gym consistently, pays to go to the gym, cares about his nutrition, and I don't like it. There's infinitesimally more people, out there who do the same exact thing that I do, which is just not run. Mm-hmm. So then it made me wonder, well, what is out there that's getting people to enjoy the process of doing cardio? And so funny enough, when people think about cardio, they think Strava and, Nike Run Club and Garmin. But there was a point during COVID in 2020, the app that was tracking more miles than any other location GPS-based app, Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go.
Tracking more miles than Strava, Garmin, Apple Health, Nike Run Club, Map My Fitness. You name an app, Pokemon Go was tracking more miles on a daily basis than they were.
That's wild.
Because even though, nobody's going on Pokemon Go to train for their half marathons.
Yeah.
There's so many people and this mass market of people who are going and walking maybe 1 to 2 miles a day to catch Pokemon that just by raw numbers, they were doing more miles every day than these apps where people legitimately run 10Ks, halves, fulls, ultras.
That's wild.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
Can you explain Pokemon Go real quick for people who aren't familiar?
Yeah. So in case you have never heard of Pokemon Go, which is crazy to me if you have, but in case you have for some reason, even if you never played it. So Pokemon Go pretty much is a game, if you're familiar with the concept of Pokemon, catching these pocket monsters, these little, animal-esque creatures that you capture and fight and whatnot. You catch them in the wild. Pokemon Go was an AR, augmented reality, mobile app where you would literally be able to catch Pokemon outside. So they would literally have Pokemon spawning around your neighborhood, downtown, around your city. And you would need to walk to those places to go catch them. And so you literally, like, let's say there was a Pokemon like right on this table. You would need to be in this physical location, point your phone at it, and then be able to catch it by, you know, swiping a ball at it to catch it and whatnot. Right.
It was a very like innovative way of blending real life and virtual kind of.
Yeah, and it was that augmented reality, adding in this AR, you know, concept around real world environments and whatnot.
Right.
And so people, in order to catch these Pokemon, you would need to go to like parks and random streets and neighborhoods. And so people would literally be walking, running, biking to all these different places.
Yeah, people active. Yeah.
Yeah. So people were moving. People were moving all over the place. Like at one point, I don't know if they still do this, but they were tracking like how many kilometers that people had covered as a total, and they were over like 1 billion kilometers last time I checked in 2020. I don't even know where they are now, but it's just so funny because you don't think about Pokemon Go as a fitness app, but people are accidentally losing weight, being active, using it. So then going back to my story, I saw this big uptick in virality and engagement because it came out in 2016. Saw a little bit of a fall off in 2018, 2019, COVID up and to the right, skyrocketing. Yeah. And so that showed me, okay, Pokemon Go, if we're looking at like the jobs to be done model, Pokemon Go is not just a fun app for people. It's an excuse to go outside and be active.
Yeah.
And be social with people in an asynchronous way where you don't have to be at the same place, same time, especially during COVID, right? So I wondered, could you make the concept of what Pokemon Go does, but with the actual fitness tracking ability of a Strava or a Nike Run Club?
Right.
And so that was the general thesis of the idea. Look, cardio sucks. Pokemon Go makes it fun for people. Can I make Pokemon Go a running app?
Yeah. And like gamify it and make it a lot cooler.
Yeah, exactly. That was the whole idea.
I mean, that's really interesting how you came about that white space opportunity there, kind of taking a non-runner's lens of it and trying to make it, you know, fun to do. Because those, I'll be honest, those apps like Strava, Nike Run Club, like I run here and there, but not enough. And I feel like I don't love running enough to even like justify having those apps. And like those, they're a little intimidating for me. Like I've downloaded it and been like, this is a little too much.
No, it's super intimidating. I mean, Strava, Nike Run Club, these very performative, goal-oriented apps. Yeah. Obviously, people go on there and they post their walks and they might post their like 1 mile at a 12-minute pace. But for the most part, people on there who are posting their Strava splits, they're doing 3 miles at like an 8, 7:30 pace. They're training for something. If you're just a casual person who really the only thing you care about for your run is just, did I sweat? Did I feel good about it? Did I challenge myself?
Yeah.
Those people don't really care for that product as much.
Right.
And even though there's this very powerful niche market of people, because I mean, Strava's got like 100 million users, right? So there's this obvious, sizable niche market of people who love running, and Strava is an app that they enjoy for that. There is way more people who don't like running who would never use an app like Strava, but would use an app like Pokemon Go.
Right.
And so we could tap into that mass market of people who would not use an app like Strava, but also at the same time want to be active. I feel like we could carve ourselves a nice mass market appeal for people who are into that space.
Totally. Do you know how many like people use Pokemon Go? Do you have an idea? Is it like,
I think the last
tens of millions, or is it
it's like hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions?
I mean, they're over at this point. They're probably north of like, I want to say like 2 billion downloads.
Oh my gosh.
I know it's crazy. It's crazy to think, but it's massive. They actually just sold to another game studio for $3.5 billion like a month ago.
Wow.
Yeah, to this day. And they actually do like $1 billion in revenue every year, pretty much off of just transactions inside the app for a free app.
Yeah. Okay. So amazing inspiration that you had from Pokemon Go. And then did I hear that you actually cold outreached the CEO of Pokemon Go?
I did.
Can you tell me about how that worked out? Because it obviously led to some pretty big momentum for you, right?
Yeah. So super funny story. So flashback way back in the time machine to 2021. I got this idea in 2020. But I was broke and jobless. I was figuring my life out. I had just moved to Austin. I was basically homeless. I was living in Airbnb, my car, extended stay hotels. Depends on how much money I had at the time where I was at. So then finally, as March of 21 comes around, I'd started some other companies. I made some smart investments. I was no longer destitute. And now I had time to invest in things that were not going to make me money anytime soon. So now, unfortunately, I went to school for marketing. I couldn't code my way out of like an HTML file. So I'm not going to be the one who's going to build this app. So I start reaching out to engineers. First thing I figured would be the right thing to do, reach out to people who build a similar app. So I just started DMing people who used to work at Pokemon Go. One of these people was a senior iOS engineer, one of the first engineers they hired back in like 2014, 2015. and he was the initial founding engineer for the app. So I figured this guy would be perfect.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah, right. So I reached out to this guy, shoot him a DM and say, hey, man, I got this idea. It's like Pokemon Go for running. At the time, it was called run.io. But I was like, yo, it's this idea. It's turning outdoor walking and running into a turf war, blah, 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 blah. Let's hop on a Zoom call. He actually responds to this DM. We talk. I say, yo, would you join me on the team? He said, yeah, be honest, he can't afford me. At the time, he was a senior Apple developer, literally at the spaceship in Cupertino. He's making more than I've probably ever seen. So I could not pay him.
Yeah.
But he said, I like your energy. I like your moxie. I like the idea of what you're doing. And then you got hustle. What I'm going to do is, I can't make an introduction. But what I can do is, I can leave you the personal email of the CEO. I can't make an intro because I don't work there anymore and I'm not supposed to do this. But I can just drop the email here. You can pick it up and do whatever you want with it.
Wow.
So I shoot him an email. So this is like May of 2021. And so I shoot him an email. And again, you know, it's a half-court shot. You chuck one up. You don't shoot it again in the third quarter if you missed it.
Yeah.
At the halftime buzzer, right? So I shot my shot, halftime, third quarter, which is the next 2 months. Nothing happens. Literally nothing. I shoot him an email. I don't have like email tracking, so I don't know if he read it. I never get a response.
Were you like following up and pinging him? Or you
No,
just, like,
not even follow up or nothing.
Yeah,
I literally just sent a singular email in May. And then I figured it was such a shot in the dark. I'm not going to invest all my time and energy into this Hail Mary. I'm not expecting this CEO of a $1 billion company who's not knowing who I am from an @gmail.com, not even like a custom domain email. We barely had a website and the website was crap at the time. I didn't get a warm introduction. I'm not expecting much. So then flash forward 2 months later, I get a response out the blue from this guy.
Wow.
Yeah, again, I didn't even follow up with a second email or anything. So literally, it's just been sitting in his inbox for 2 months. I don't even know how he saw this. Because even I, after an email is like a week old, unless it's from somebody I really care about, I'm just like marking it as read and going about my day.
Right.
Especially if it's from like an @Gmail. It's clearly like a sales email. I'm not even addressing that. But for some reason, somehow, this very busy man found the time to look at my email and directly responded to me, not even like an assistant him. He said, yo, Destin, super cool idea. Would love to chat. We hop on a Zoom call. And here's the funny part. He wasn't on the Zoom call. It was 3 of his team members. I asked them, like, yo, hey, why did you guys take the call? I'm just really curious why you even responded to this email at all. And they literally verbatim said, because our boss told us to.
So he had a few people on his team show up and he didn't.
Yeah, he didn't show up.
Yeah.
So he sent his lady, she was like their head of, it's like they had a diversity program at the time. Then they had another lady who was their director of publishing, and then a third person, I can't remember what she even did. But I could tell like they were there because they were told to. And they really didn't care that deeply about what I was doing. Like they were genuinely interested a little bit in like the concept of it. But I was like, oh, I have some wireframes. Like, we don't need to see those. Like, okay, well, I made a deck. Yeah, we don't need to see that. I was like, just talk to us about it. So I did. 30 minutes later, they're like, okay, yeah, we'll get back to you. 3 months passed. They never did. But this time I'm like, screw it. Now I know y'all read these. Now it's not a shot in the dark. So every week for the next 3 months, I was just sending them an update email about anything. New website, new deck, new wireframes. We put in a non-provisional patent application. Or this, and that, right? After about 3 months of that, eventually they pretty much said, all right, let's hop on another call. And they basically said, you have no engineer. You have no background in gaming. You're not a runner. You don't really understand mobile gaming or development. You have no team. But we like your energy. So here's 50 grand.
Oh, wow.
That pretty much, that's how the call went.
Wow. So they gave you a $50,000 grant?
Yes. They give like literally just completely hands off. There's no repay.
No strings
There's no strings attached. No, you have to use our SDK. No, nothing. Just literally like, you know what? We like what you're doing. We like your hustle. We like your energy. And you seem really committed to this. And we think the idea is good if you can execute on it properly. So here's some money.
Wow.
And so they gave me the 50 grand. And that's literally the beginning of all of this.
That's crazy. And so that gave you the momentum to then hire, I guess, probably some freelance engineers or something, right? To kind of get things built.
Well, yeah. So at that point, we actually were able to bring on a full-fledged CTO.
Oh, okay.
So mind you, going back to that first initial email or LinkedIn DM I sent to that engineer at Pokemon Go, that was like one of 400 that I sent.
Yeah.
And so everybody I was reaching out to was, high-level engineer in their own right. They all said no or they ignored me completely. I get that 50K grant. So one of the people who I messaged all the way back in like March of 21, messaged this guy. He says basically no. but he was interested in the idea. We connected on LinkedIn. We stayed connected. And so throughout the next 9 months, I'm just posting updates like, oh, here's our new website. Here's the sign up for our beta. Here's this, here's that. So then December of 21 is when we get the grant. I make a LinkedIn post beginning of the year. Hey, super excited to announce the Cardio just got a $50K grant for Pokemon Go. He comments and says, yo, congratulations, man. I'm loving the hustle and the effort. So then I DM and I'm like, hey, man, would love to catch up. We hop on a call. This is where I got him. I said, yo, yeah, man, we just got some money in. Our wait list is, around like 500 now. We're moving in the right direction. But yeah, man, we really need a CTO. So I was wondering if you know somebody who would be a good CTO. He was like, well, I'm a good engineer. I'm like, what, you? No, not. You got it. He was working as a LinkedIn engineer at the time.
Yeah.
Out in SF. I'm like, well, you got a job at LinkedIn. You already said no earlier. I mean, just if you got some buddies, pass me along. It's like,
right.
Actually, I've been thinking about a change in careers, actually. I'm like, what? Yeah. You? Really?
You baited him.
I got him. I got his ass. And so literally he ended up quitting his job like 2 months later and he went full time with me.
Crazy.
We had never met. Literally, it was a DM in LinkedIn 9 months previous. We hadn't even talked at all since then.
Yeah.
And then we hopped on another Zoom call and I convinced him to quit his job.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
He's still with the company now. And
yeah, no, he actually did just leave the company like a year ago because he got married. His wife wanted him to have a little bit more stability.
There you go. Yeah.
Happy life. Yeah. Happy wife, happy life, right?
Yeah.
But he did great work for us for 2 years.
Wow.
I owe him a ton. He built the infrastructure and he still works with us to this day on an advisory level, helping us out.
Wow.
And still an equity partner.
Crazy, man. I love the I love the hustle on that, man. That's incredible. So, all right. So before we get to the Shark Tank kind of episode and everything you've been doing here in Austin, obviously there were a couple of years there where you're just grinding building this app, and this is a pretty brand new territory for you. Like, what were some of what did that 2 year period look like from like 2021 to 2023, say 2024 timeframe? Like, what were some of the bigger struggles and milestones you hit during that time frame? I
mean, struggles, man. I can give it to you like alphabetically, chronologically.
Yeah, let's just talk about some, maybe, what are some what stands out when you look at that period where you were grinding for a couple of years, really getting this app going? Like, what sticks out as like, damn, that was a really tough period, or this was a hard thing to really figure out?
Yeah, there's so many. I would say there are 3 that really stand out to me struggle-wise. So the first one was finding the talent. Because here I am, recent college grad. I'm 23 at the time. I've never had a corporate job. I've never built a startup on a level where people would recognize it anyway. I don't have this huge network and portfolio of great engineers. I went to the University of Kentucky. We're more known for bourbon than we are computer science. So I don't have this, slew of great, awesome engineers who got jobs at Apple and Google and whatnot that I can hit up.
Yeah.
I don't come from a family of a whole bunch of very wealthy, successful people who have connections to this person and that person. So just finding people to support the vision on a talent level was difficult. Like I said, I had to send 400 DMs to get my CTO, and it was a person who said no initially. Yeah. So honestly, if it wasn't for the fact I got that 50K grant from Pokemon Go, he probably never would have joined the team. I don't even know what I would have done at that point. I probably would have to come out of pocket and hire some people out of India or something like that and pray for the best.
Yeah.
So, that was the biggest struggle because it took over a year of me ideating before I could even start getting code written. So that was tough.
Yeah.
Then the second thing, money. I mean, this stuff's not cheap. I mean, even with my CTO, if he had made me pay him as much as he was worth, which he was making $250K with benefits and all that at LinkedIn. He worked for free, didn't get paid at all for a whole year of 2022. So the only reason I was even able to get him, even with the 50K grant, because 50K don't go very far when you're paying high-level senior dev talent.
Right, yeah.
That's like 3 months of salary for them.
Yeah.
So the only reason I was even able to get him and get the app built at all was because he was willing to not pay because he believes in the future of the company so much. He was cool with just an equity deal. So we didn't, if it weren't for that, we wouldn't have been able to get him at all. So fundraising, getting the money, we had several hundred probably VC calls, pitches, applications, referrals. We only got one investor outside of Pokemon Go to give us any money at the beginning in 2022.
Damn.
So getting money was difficult. And the third thing was the product. Now, what are we building? Why are we building it? Who is it for? We spent probably 5 to 6 months after my CTO joined the team just asking people what it was they wanted, making iterations of wireframes. We spent more money on testing out different versions of the app and getting people to try it out than we did on our own salaries. Because we just needed to know, what are we building? Why are we building it? Who is it for? And that was a very difficult process. I mean, it's one I'm still figuring out to this day, still trying to find that product market fit. Even, now 50,000 users in,
Yeah.
I still feel like I haven't really perfectly found like the perfect product and the critical path of what exactly it is that people want and how to make them the happiest customers in the world. So that part is,
Yeah.
I stayed up many nights sleeplessly thinking about all three of those issues.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Product, talents, and money. Those are three big things.
That's the big three. That's the LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. Right?
Yeah, exactly. If you can figure all three of those out, I think you'll do just fine. Well, cool, man. So let's get into the Shark Tank experience and how that came about. Because from what I hear, it was actually them coming to you and you not really applying necessarily to be on the show. Is that right?
Yeah, man. That was the weirdest part about it. So, growing up and watching Shark Tank since I was like 10 years old, I didn't really fully understand what was happening until I was like 16, but I just always enjoyed the idea of people coming up, pitching, negotiating, people like Mr. Wonderful being, complete dicks and stuff like that. But just it's funny stuff. And then when I was 16, I started actually understanding the business of how equity works, how investments work. And then also that these are normal people because, you watch the shows, like you watch reality TV and whatever, and you think all these people are like celebrities, influencers, whatever. And then I started seeing people that look like me. There was this guy when I was 16 who I watched. She was there with his mom, post-college grad, around the age I am now, with his mom, with this app that had less than 1,000 users on it, and he was on there. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. Like, before it's like, oh, this guy has some patent pending $1 million revenue business in the biotech space. Okay, I can't compete with that probably. But this guy's just got an app. I think the app was something about like a mapping system for airports for you to figure out where restaurants and stuff were in the airport. And I figured, man, I can do that. That was the first time I really realized this is something I could be on. So from 16 until now, I was thinking, man, one day I want to be on Shark Tank. Now I wanted to go, truth be told, like I wasn't even really ready to be on Shark Tank in my mind. I wanted to be further along in my journey than when I did. And that's why I didn't even apply because I didn't want to be on it yet. I wanted to be on there when I was going to go on there with a kick-ass product with 1 million users and all that. But I guess, the universe had different plans for me. So in April, somebody reached out to me on their producer team and said, yo, man, I found out your app Cardio is super cool. I saw you pitch online. I looked you up and your brand and your story, tried your product. It was pretty sleek and cool. Would you want to be on season 16 of Shark Tank? Now, immediately I thought this is a scam because why would somebody DM me, random Joe Blow
on LinkedIn?
On LinkedIn. Yeah. Like we had at the time, maybe like 19, 20,000 users. We weren't some international viral sensation. And I got a good story, but it can't be that much better than anybody else's. And I'm sure there's so many people, like around 60, 70,000 now that actually did the research to apply for Shark Tank. Why would somebody be reaching out to me? But somehow, some way, this guy literally did. He was an actual producer. We hopped on a Zoom call.
Wow.
He was legit. We signed up. We went up on the application process, put in the application. We got expedited down that process. And then 2 months later, I'm in LA pitching in front of the Sharks.
Crazy. 2 months later from that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's nuts.
And what was that whole experience like? Like I'm a huge fan of Shark Tank. I love the show. I've watched it, since it came out. And I've always wanted to know the kind of the behind the scenes, like what actually goes on. Because I hear like a lot of pitches actually don't air and there's a lot of things that happen behind the closed door. Like, can you kind of take us through a little bit of that process of getting to LA and pitching? Like,
it's a process.
Yeah.
It is a process, dude. So flash forward, that's because we started this process in April and all these things are happening throughout April, May to beginning of June. So then around beginning of June, I get my film date. A week before the film date, I actually get my flight. And then the day before, literally the day before, I'm already in LA at this point. Only then do they tell me which Sharks I'm pitching to.
Oh, wow.
So I found out which Sharks I'm pitching to like 12 hours before I pitched. Luckily, I've been watching the show my whole life, so I already knew all of them intimately.
Yeah.
Except for like the guest shark, and I looked him up, and he was great, and that was easy to do for one person.
Right.
And then you go out there, you go on set. So we get to set at like 8 a.m. They walk you in. They even say like, hey, we're going to let you guys walk in the space before you go pitch because it can be a little overwhelming if you just see it for the first time while you're pitching. So we let people walk out there, get a feel for the space, get their jitters out early, don't get blown away by the spectacle of it all. And then you go back to your trailer. They put makeup, hair, whatever on you. And then you sit and you wait. Now you go there in a cohort of like 5. So there was 5 people there who were with me. I went last. That sucked.
Oh, yeah.
It's it's like shooting free throws and somebody calls a timeout while you're about to shoot game-winning free throws. You're just sitting there, you're getting iced. On top of that, as people are finishing their pitch, they're like commenting on what happened. So you're not allowed to like talk to them, but you can hear them because, we're sharing a wall. It's like, oh man, we got to deal with Damon. We got to deal with Mark. We got this. Oh, he called us cockroaches. We got laughed out the room. Blah, blah, blah. You can tell from people's energy and you're getting nervous.
Right.
And you're just sitting there. And I was sitting in that green room for about 6 hours before I got to pitch.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to, I'm sure the nerves were going. So like, and there's that like, the iconic hallway, right, leading into the doors. Like, what was that like? Was your adrenaline just like going?
Dude, I was getting mic'd up, and the dude who was micing me up said, "Hey man, calm down," because I was like, literally like shaking. I was so anxious.
Yeah,
because I've been sitting here, I've been dreaming about this moment for like 10 years since I was 16 years old. I wanted to do this, and I'm there. My mom's with me. She's in the back room in that like lobby before you walk through the hallway with me, and we're talking, and she's saying, "Hey, you got this. You're good." You're in front of the doors where they open it. You got a person with like the steady cam in front of you, ready to track you walking down the hallway. And it's like storming the beach of Normandy. Like, oh, wait, doors open in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Go, go, go. Don't walk too fast. Don't walk too slow. Don't look down, but also stop exactly on this spot.
The whole thing.
It's a whole production, dude. It's a whole production.
And the lights go on, and then you got to give your pitch, and you crush it.
And I would say I did. I would say I did. Yeah.
I saw the highlights. I mean, you crushed it, and they were you could tell they were very excited about you, and I think they loved your pitch, obviously. So walk us through that. Like, what was the questioning like? I didn't get to see the whole episode, but like, what was that whole just negotiation pitch process like with them, live?
Yeah. So it's very.
Do you remember it? Did you like? Is it like a blur to you, or do you?
Honestly, like small parts of it, especially now because it's been like 9 months. Because that was June, so
yeah,
that was. I mean, it was crazy. It was very surreal. So parts of it are a little bit lost to time to me now because I was just like so locked in that things have just like passed in my brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like a normal VC pitch. If you ever pitched to a VC, it was very similar to that. Obviously, the episode is like 10 minutes, but I was in there for about an hour. So you go through everything, and you're not just talking about the vibes, the concept. You're getting into the weeds, revenue, growth, CAC, LTV, marketing strategy, burn. Pretty much any question you would talk to a legit VC about. Obviously, that stuff doesn't make TV because that's boring. Nobody wants to listen to your LTV projections and whatnot. They want to hear more about your story and the product.
They really do drill in for a long time.
Yeah. We got into all the details. Like I saw people talking about the episodes like, well, they gave him an investment and they didn't even ask him about his CAC. I'm like, they did. They just didn't think it was good TV.
They didn't show it. Yeah.
So yeah, I was in there for like an hour. And what was interesting about it is that it was so much chiller than I thought. Because you watch the show, dramatic zoom ins, the music, the dun 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 dun, all that. But when you're in there, it's just you, 5 people in a room. There's no music, there's no sound.
Right.
You're just talking. And I've been watching the show so much that I felt like I had done 10 years of prep for this moment. So genuinely, when they were coming at me with questions and saying this and saying that, I was surprised at how calm I was because I just felt in control. I felt so prepared that there was no anxiety.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm sure watching it for all those years, you've heard all the questions, right? Other people have had to ask. Like it wasn't like a foreign territory for you. You kind of felt like at home, and it was probably easier for you to. Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, it's like a normal VC thing. So at that point, every question they asked been asked by somebody less famous without TV cameras before. Yeah. So it was the same answers I would give to anybody, and also I have supreme confidence in what I'm pitching. So there was one part, I don't know if you saw this because I don't think they clipped this out onto any of the social media stuff or not, but there's a part where me and Mr. Wonderful are going back and forth. And anybody who knows Mr. Wonderful, he's a revenue guy. Now we're an early stage consumer app. Anybody knows anything about that is that we're not winning deals because of revenue. So we were doing like $4,000 a month in revenue at the time. And he was like, okay, so you came in, $3 million valuation, 4,000 month revenue. I just don't see the alignment. I said, well, I'm selling it to you at the price it will be worth later. I'm not going to sell it to you for what it's worth today. That number will be lower than what we sell it for down the line. And he says, you know how many entrepreneurs come in here and say that? And I said, yeah. And some of them were right. I think I'm one of them. He's like, that's a good answer.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good, awesome. It's stumping Mr. Wonderful.
That was great. That felt great because he was the one I was most nervous about.
Yeah.
He was the one I was most nervous about. Like Mark is a super chill guy. Damon is pretty chill. I knew Lori wouldn't really be interested that much because she's not really a techie or a fitness lady.
Yeah.
And then Rashawn, who was the guest shark, he does a lot of consumer. He's a big runner himself. So I knew he would be interested.
Yeah.
And he was the one I was actually targeting the most. So I knew those four I was good with them. And then Mr. Wonderful, I'm like, he's going to try to roast me. So I got to be prepared for whatever he gives me. I got to dish it back. So stumping him felt great. It felt great. After watching him destroy people for a decade, it felt good to get a clap back, punch him in the mouth, and not get a hit back. That felt good. That felt really good.
Huge one. I love
that. Was my favorite. Outside, of course, getting the deal.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part of the show.
Oh, I love to hear
Stumping
that.
him.
He's my least favorite person on the show. Like, I mean, he's entertaining.
He's entertaining. He's funny.
He's funny. Yeah.
He's the one I would at least want to do a deal with.
Exactly. Same. Yeah. I definitely want Mark or Damon for sure. So you did a deal with Damon and the guest shark, Rashawn?
Yes, Rashawn Williams.
Yeah. So what was that? What did that deal look like?
Yeah. So $150K at 15%.
$150K for 15%?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Crazy, man. All right. So, and then did you bring your mom out too on stage?
I did.
When you made the deal, or what? How did that?
Yeah. So that's the funny part. Okay. So the whole thing with my mom, because people were like, oh, this is so scripted. Because and mind you, I'm not going to lie. And that's probably why they made it the season premiere and they put us in all the marketing. Because we did make a storybook episode. You got this young guy who started this company living out of his car, young dude, young African-American, witty, funny, cool app, whatever. He gets to deal with the two black sharks with his mother on set with him. And I can see how somebody be like, oh, there's no way that happened organically.
Yeah.
It did. So here's the funny part. They didn't even want my mom to be on the episode initially. Because when I was going through the application, I was like, hey, is it possible for me to come on with my mom? Been watching the show with my mom. She's the reason I started watching it. We've been watching it together pretty much since I was like in middle school through college. And we still talk about it to this day, regardless of me being on it or not. I cannot do it without her. Like, I really want her to be there. It's a big dream of mine to bring her out there.
Mm-hmm.
They said no. They said you can only come out there with, influencers, investors, pretty much people who have equity, team members, etc. So your mom, even though we love your mom, it's a great idea, great story, she can't come. So I said, fine, whatever. So then I just kept bringing her in stuff anyway. So during my video submission, I made sure I literally flew to Louisville because I live here, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I flew to Louisville. And for that video submission, I just added a 30-second snippet at the end with me and her together just so I could start prepping and priming them like, oh, this is my mom. She's a big part of this journey. So even after that, they said, no, mom. I said, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
So then we fly to LA. When I'm in LA, I say, hey, is it cool if I bring my mom with me? He's like, you have to fly her out on your own dime. We're not going to pay for her to come for a hotel or anything like that. So I said, that's fine. So we bring her out there, get her a flight, get her a hotel for herself and stuff like that. So then we go on set. So I say, hey, man, well, I might be in the green room for a couple hours, right? Can I just bring my mom with me to the green room? I mean, I don't want to be in there by myself all day. He said, oh, yeah, she's fine with just waiting in the green room. That's fine. I said, all right, cool. So I bring her to the green room. And then I say, hey, well, I know she's not going to be on the show, but wouldn't it be cool if when I'm in like the staging area before you walk through the hallway, if we get a shot with me and my mom, like, that would be cool, right? And they're like, that would be pretty cool, actually. Yeah. So then they start doing makeup and hair and stuff for her. And then they get her set up and all that. And so then we go out there. So she's in the hallway with me. Obviously, she doesn't walk out with me. She goes back. And then they're going to send her back to the green room. I'm like, hey, can she go somewhere to be able to watch the episode? So instead of going all the way back to the trailer, she was still on set. She was in the room with the production people watching the episode live as it was being taped.
Oh, cool.
So then obviously, we do the pitch. We go through all that stuff. So we get to the part where the deal's happening. So me, Damon, and Rashawn are negotiating.
Mm-hmm.
So then they say the $150K, 15%. I go back and forth. I throw 10. They laugh. They say 15. So then I say, before I make this deal, can I go ask my mom what she thinks? Now, what I thought was going to happen was, because this is what usually happens, is that you go out, your mom or whoever you came with, your partner, whatever. Mm-hmm. They're in the hallway. You talk, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
I thought that's what was going to happen. I figured I could settle for that. But then Rashawn said, actually, your mom's in the back, right? I said, yeah. He said, oh, go get her. Now, mind you, I had prepped them throughout the pitch that my mom was there. Because when Lori was out, because Lori is my mom's favorite shark, I said, by the way, Lori, my mom says you're her favorite shark. So I threw that out there. Then at one point, Rashawn asked, why, what's your why? And I said, generational wealth, providing for my family, showing my mom that I appreciate her and I want to be able to retire her and do this and do that. And so I kept prepping and bringing my mom into it. Anywhere I could shove my mom in, I tried to put her in. Yeah. So then when I mentioned oh, can I go ask her? Rashawn was like, oh, well, she's outside, right? Like, yeah, she's out there. It's like, oh, go get her. I said, oh, I literally broke character. I said, oh shit, really? They cut that part off. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. And so I got to bring her in. And then at that point,
You got to bring her on stage?
Yeah, I got she was literally in the tank with me. She got to walk on stage with me.
Wow.
I make a joke like, oh, I lied. She's my sister. Ha ha, jokes. And they say, oh, talk some sense into your son. She gets to say, let's take the deal. I say, we got the deal. Me and her, group hug her, Damon and Rashawn. And
man, what a cool
it was
moment.
cool. It was super cool. It was awesome.
That's incredible.
It's a dream come true, genuinely.
That's awesome. I mean, you made that happen, man. You made all that come to life. That's so cool. And what a special moment with your mom. All right, so wow. So you've had a lot of excitement since that, right? Obviously, it was an incredible, episode and a great deal you made with the Sharks. What's it been like working with the Sharks post after that? Like, have you been? What does that look like? Did they just like say, "Hey, whatever you need from our team, let us know"? Like, how does that interaction kind of work post a deal on Shark Tank?
Yeah, it's pretty much how it goes. Like you said, they're a resource. We got the money. Obviously, they're an equity partner.
Yeah.
Sean's on our board actually. So really cool guy. I talked to Rashawn more than I talked to Damon because Rashawn is the tech guy. He did early deals with DoorDash, Dropbox, Coinbase. Damon, he's a strategic investor and helping us with introductions. He made intros. I've hung out with him a couple of times, picked his brain on some things, emailed him some questions about stuff.
Yeah.
But mainly it's introductions to people who I need help with. So like right now I'm hiring. So they're helping me find talent.
Nice.
I'm looking to raise more money into the year. So they're helping set up some conversations with some later stage seed Series A funds. They give me advice. They connect me to mentors, advisors, and they just genuinely give me, direction. Also just as a person, what it takes to be successful as they've been in their professional career, building businesses, investing in businesses, and just surviving the world as a professional, as a young Black man who doesn't know what he's doing. They give me a lot of advice on that too. So it's been great to have them, honestly.
Oh, I'm sure that's incredible. Like you can't put a price on that mentorship too, right? And,
no, not at all.
Well, I want to get into, so obviously you've been bouncing around. We're recording this during South by. You're busy. You're just coming off a partnership run with Hoka, and you're doing a lot of stuff in the city. What has it been like building this in Austin? It feels like a perfect city. I mean, for what you're building too, a running app. It feels like there's a new run club every 2 weeks out here.
I can't
in
even
Austin.
keep track of them all, dude. Like even the run we did with Hoka was with this group I had never even run with before.
Really?
There's just so many. It's hard to keep track of them.
I mean, it's kind of perfect, right? For what you're doing in this city, and you got a startup community, you got a running community.
You got literally got everything in Austin. You got the startup community, you got the tech community, you got the running community, you got a strong fitness community. They have this big international running conference called TRE that's actually hosted here at the Austin Convention Center. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Weather's great. We work with the Austin Marathon. We work with the Cap 10K. We work with the international half. We have like over 25 run clubs that signed up on the app. I mean, it's ground zero.
Yeah. Didn't you do a huge thing with the Trail Conservancy too?
Yeah, we just did a fundraiser with the Trail Conservancy to raise money for Lady Bird Lake and that trail. So, I mean, it's perfect. I mean, there's not really much I can say except that this place rocks. I love Austin. It's ground zero, and I couldn't have picked a better one. I didn't even know I was going to do this when I got here, but it worked out completely on accident for me.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's amazing. I love to hear that. And so what's next for you? Like, where are you at right now with the business? Where do you need the most help? Where are you trying to kind of, what parts of the business are you really focused on right now?
Talent right now. That's the biggest thing. We're already at a good spot. We're around 50,000 users. Things are moving in the right direction.
Nice.
We're driving revenue. We're in a good spot, especially post Shark Tank. Now the biggest thing is just really getting a strong team, starting to build that team culture, and then getting that industry expertise. Because I felt like in the beginning, disrupting, coming at the running space from a non-runner's perspective and all that was great. But now I think we need to start thinking about things more like how a running app would and start building that product that's really a dedicated app for run clubs, for runners, for people who are trying to become runners and getting that real industry experience from some senior level people. Because I am a smart guy. I have no qualms about that. I don't have any self-esteem issues. But I also do recognize that I am dumb. I don't know a lot of stuff. I don't have industry experience. I've come at this from a outsider looking in perspective. And now I've become a runner. I've run my marathons. I've met these run club people and I've gotten, firsthand experience and testimonials from people who use the product and what they like, what they dislike, what they hate, and everything in between. But I really want somebody who can really guide me on an operational level, on a development level, what exactly we need to be doing to take this to the next level and find that true product market fit where the growth is exponential even without Shark Tank. I want to see Shark Tank growth numbers just off of us operating as normal. Yeah.
I love that. What do you think has been the biggest, helpful piece of advice you've gotten so far? It seems like you're a guy who is very persistent. You have no problem like hustling and kind of finding a way to make things happen. You're a smart guy. But what has been something that, has been helpful in terms of advice along the way to kind of keep going?
I've gotten so much good advice over the years. I think, gosh, picking one is so tough.
Yeah.
I would say the most important thing is that startups aren't linear. Because when you start a business and you just think, oh, this is the greatest thing ever, we're going to be instantly viral, we're going to have 100,000 users by like month 3, and we're going to be all over the place, and everybody's going to love us, and we're going to be generating cash hand over fist. And that's not how it's been. Now, when I first started, there was a lot of pushback. People were like, oh, this is a turf war app. Why would I use that instead of Strava? We had some issues with development. I'm like, oh, this is buggy. This doesn't work the way it's supposed to. We had to deal with the education process, crossing that chasm of people saying like, okay, so you steal blocks how? And you can use items, and then you earn coins from the areas you own, and then this, and then that. And then also just me not knowing stuff like, oh crap, I didn't really think we needed to integrate with Strava and Garmin initially. I thought people would be okay with using our app. Yeah. I didn't realize that people who are devout Strava and Garmin people treat it like a religion, and they're just not going to convert no matter what. So we need to have an upload and import option for them. And then, all these different things we have, like you said, like over the last 5-6 months, we've changed even then a ton with our UI and UX.
Yeah.
So, I mean, constant of evolution and changing, and it's been a valley, it's been peaks, it's up and down. Going into it, I thought it was just going to be up and to the right with a steadily inclining slope, but it's been up here and then down there, and then one day you're having the Shark Tank pitch, and wow, it's blowing up, and then other days everybody's complaining because there's this bug, and then you're losing users and you're churning, and then, we raised money from this person, and then that person said they're not going to give us any money, and, you have your great CTO, and then he leaves the company, you got to find new engineers, and then you have this person you're interviewing, and then they're doing a great job, and then one day they're not doing a great job. Now you got to fire somebody, and then it just comes in waves. And so I knew that business was like that, but this one felt completely different than what I thought. And when I talk to successful people, there's that tendency to romanticize everybody else's success of like, oh man, there's this guy out there who's not doing anything wrong. He's just literally shitting gold. Everything he puts out is great. Every campaign he does works perfectly. Their CAC is lower. Their retention is better. Their revenue is better. This, and that. And then you actually get to know those people and like, yeah, dude, this sucks. That broke. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
We're losing revenue. Our users are churning. And it makes you realize, okay, I'm struggling, and that's part of the game. Everything's not an overnight sensation. Some things take a while to get where they need to be, and that was really impactful for me because sometimes I wonder, like, do I suck?
It is great to hear other people share that too, right? Because I think that makes it more relatable. It's like everything's a little messy. Like even if you start a new job somewhere where you think the company's got their shit together and they have a great product and they've been around forever, you get there and you realize, oh wow, there's a lot of things under the hood that are pretty messy and not working here. That's like any job you go to. And it's so, especially in a startup, that's just amplified. Everything is a little more exposed. Mm-hmm. It's a little easier to see the flaws.
Oh, for sure.
And so you feel that as a founder, you feel those flaws being critiqued all the time. And you got to know that that's just kind of part of the course. And, like you say, it's not linear. Looking back, it's a straight line, but going forward, it's zigzag all the way around.
Yeah, it's like looking at the stock market. Like if you looked at the stock market and you looked at like a 5-year chart, a 1-year chart, it's going to look like it just went up and it never went down. But when you start looking at that on like... You zoom in and you're looking at like on a live trading, like day by day, even week by week. I mean, even like a company like NVIDIA, that if you looked at NVIDIA for like the last 3 years, it's just...
Yep.
But if you looked at it from day to day, I like stock investing and trading and whatnot. So I dabble in that a lot. And one of the things that I always think about with this startup game is that NVIDIA has 7 of the top 10 days in stock market history in terms of like growth and value. They've had days where they like grew $600 billion in one day. They've had days like that.
Yeah.
Right? They've also had like 5 or 6 of the worst days in stock market history where they've lost like $500-400 billion in value.
Yeah.
And so if a company like NVIDIA that is swinging in magnitudes of literally Fortune 500 companies on a day-to-day basis, who am I to think I won't do the same?
Right.
So that's how it goes.
For sure, man. Well, I hope you have more peaks than valleys, and excited to keep tracking your progress, man. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story today.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. It was a great time.
Thanks, dude. This is awesome.